Hello everyone, welcome to today's Masterclass session brought to you by ManageEngine. Thank you for signing up and attending this session. My name is Rachit Arora and I'm an evangelist and solution expert at ManageEngine, and I focus my time in helping IT and business teams make sense of their data and enable them to make better data-driven decisions. I'm very excited to be presenting today's topic to you all. Today's session will focus on how you can run your IT like a business by leveraging the advanced analytics feature in your ServiceDesk Plus cloud instance. Helpdesk administrators and managers spend most of their time firefighting problems and issues, closing the ticket as soon as possible, and keeping the backlog at a minimum is always at the top of the mind. But in the middle of all this firefighting, they tend to miss out on small changes to their processes and workflows that could save them a lot of time and efforts. Today's presentation aims to help you develop an analytical mindset and teaches you on how you can use your data generated by your help desk to improve your overall service quality and run your IT more efficiently. Before we jump into the session, here are a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can ask them in the Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your screen. Your questions will be answered by the technical members who are at hand or during the question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. You can also use the Q&A panel in case you're unable to hear me or face any technical issues during the webinar. In case you're unable to attend the entire session, don't worry. We'll be sending across a recording of the webinar to all attendees in a few days. And if you have any feedback or questions after the webinar, you can reach out to me directly at rachit@manageengine.com. And you can also reach out to the support team on the email ID mentioned on the screen. Here is how today's presentation is going to go about. We'll first try and understand what it means to run your IT like a business. We'll try to understand what are various aspects that we as IT users must adopt to run our business similar to how an executive runs a business. I'll then introduce you to advanced analytics for ServiceDesk Plus Cloud and guide you on how you can implement the integration in your instance. So at the end of the amateur stage, you should be able to view insights and reports based on your own help desk data. We then take things up a notch and explore the various possibilities of what you can do with your data, opening you up to new ideas and helping you develop a more analytical understanding of your data and data sets. Finally, at the master level, we look at practically using the analytics tool to solve problems by running through a couple real life examples and scenarios and experience how analytics can help you out in those particular situations. We'll end this session with a Q&A segment. Before we proceed, I'd like to give you the opportunity to download the free supplementary resource available in the handout section on the left-hand side of the screen. The Guide to Data Democratization is a recently released ebook that I authored to help IT and business managers who are struggling to make use of their business data. The guide gives you a path forward on how your team or organization can focus more on uncovering hidden business insights and promoting a data culture within your organization. I hope you enjoy the ebook and share it with your colleagues and peers who might benefit from it. Let's begin by understanding what it means to run your IT like a business. Running your IT like a business involves borrowing aspects of business development and applying them to the management and processes within your own IT team. So business teams are primarily customer and profit focused, whereas you as an IT manager has to apply these concepts to an internal line of business, in this case, the internal IT team, where the aspect of profit is actually replaced by the aspect of providing value to the parent organization. So running your IT like a business involves optimizing for cost and value. While this sounds good overall, you might soon come to realize that running your IT like an individual business entity might not be in the best interest of the broader parent organization. So, this is where IT leaders need to align their activities and priorities in accordance with what the larger business objective is, while also optimizing for various business metrics and goals within their own team. The IT team needs to be able to understand and predict customer needs and wants in order to stay efficient and beat the curve. In the case of internal IT, these customers tend to mostly be end users within your organization. But depending on how IT is positioned across various businesses, the type of customer varies. But the ability to predict and understand needs and wants remains paramount. You will also need to ensure a high level of customer service and availability of resources and IT services to ensure smooth business continuity. But running your IT like a business also gets about the concept of value optimization, where IT teams are required to know what are the drivers behind the various IT costs and keeping a track of these costs to ensure that you get maximum value without impacting the quality of service. Employees, in our case technicians, play an extremely vital role in your business, and keeping a balance in their work life is extremely important. This means that they should not be overloaded with work, nor should they have a lot of free time on their hands. The employee should also be introduced to new technologies and techniques on the job as to make sure that their work doesn't get repetitive, and you also allow them to grow their knowledge and skills while working. Finally, future growth and optimizations need to be accommodated for. Over and above aligning your help desk to the ITIL principle of continuous service improvement, it's important for every business unit to continuously optimize themselves and reinvent to stay relevant in today's fast pace of business. This is where having an analytical approach helps run your IT like a business. When we look at other individual lines of business that exist across the organization, executives and decision makers across the board focus on just one thing to determine the growth and health of the business. The one thing has various names, but it's usually called metrics, KPIs, or analytics. They're basically numbers that indicate the overall business health and growth. And this philosophy is prevalent across almost every line of business. So, business executives use business intelligence tools to track metrics such as revenue and churn. Similarly, marketing, sales, HR, finance, and others have their own set of metrics and indicators that reflect the status and health of the specific business unit. When we at ManageEngine took a look at what kind of dashboards and metrics IT teams used, specifically in the case of IT service management, we came across very static dashboards that contained very rudimentary metrics and KPIs that were either too rigid or too complex for the regular IT user to gain any tangible value out of. The dashboard that you see on the screen right now is representative of the kind of general vanilla dashboards that you usually see across the industry. IT help desk store a lot of valuable data from which some incredible insights can be derived. Proper use of this data and insights can take your service management to another level and help you improve your processes and help you and your team predict and manage their resources more efficiently. And we at ManageEngine wanted to enable our users to freely browse through this data, manipulate it as they wish, and visualize the help desk data in a secure and self-service environment. But traditionally speaking, there were three ways in which an IT user could work with and manipulate their IT data. They wanted to go beyond the limited analytics provided within their help desk or IT tool. The first option was they could hire a specialist, such as a data scientist or data engineer, who had the knowledge of the various data manipulation tools, or they could themselves work with the data by acquiring and learning the technical tools and skills required. The problem with this approach is that the users may not have the right tools or skill set, and they might not even know how to write queries in Python, R, or SQL. On the other side, they could engage with the central data team of the organization, and this team is generally tasked with handling data related projects and consists of a group of specialists. The problem with this approach is that it's time consuming and you're dependent on a third party. Furthermore, the individual or the team manipulating the data might not have the domain knowledge or insights that are required to gain actionable insights from the data set. Finally, we land on the self service model, in which each individual is enabled and empowered to do the work themselves. These people have highly functional domain knowledge and they know what are the business outcomes that they want to drive. All that you got to do is provide them with the right training and tools to allow them to get the work done themselves. In this model, the tool does most of the heavy lifting. The problem with IT data was that there was no BI or analytics tool designed for IT data, and importing the data into a traditional BI system was highly manual and time consuming. That's why we introduced advanced analytics for ServiceDesk Plus, a complete self-service IT analytics tool that directly integrates with your ServiceDesk Plus cloud instance and provides insights, reports, and dashboards right out of the box without requiring you to do any manual data manipulation. Built specifically with IT service management teams in mind, the integration provides a highly customizable canvas for you to browse, manipulate, and visualize your help desk data. The integration comes with over 200 out-of-the-box reports so that you can immediately get the value out of your help desk data. With ready-made dashboards and reports for various roles and IT functions, you get a solid foundation to jumpstart your data journey. It's extremely fast to get started. You can be up and running in just a few minutes. So to install advanced analytics on your Service Desk Plus instance, click on Setup and navigate to the Apps and Add-ons grouping. Click on Zoho Analytics and go through the integration setup to get it up and running in just a couple of minutes. As soon as you're done with the setup, you should be able to view the over 200 out-of-the-box reports and dashboards available to you. With highly detailed customization and filtering options, Advanced Analytics gives both amateurs and power users the high level of functionality and flexibility that they require. You also have the ability to create highly specific role-based or function-based dashboards, all of which are powered by the data generated in your help desk. This is over and above the out-of-the-box dashboards that you get. So the dashboards that you see on the screen right now are available to you as is, or you can go ahead and manipulate them to suit your specific needs. Over and above the data pulled in from Service Desk Plus Cloud, you can create an omni-channel analytics solution for your IT right within Advanced Analytics by pooling in data from other sources, applications, and databases spread across your environment. You can further correlate data from across multiple applications to uncover some truly incredible business insights. Apart from the out-of-the-box reports and dashboards, users can either edit the ready-made reports or create their own reports and customize them with very powerful Excel-like functions. We have also added the ability to forecast future requirements by using the forecasting engine within the tool. Being a self-service tool, the interface is extremely intuitive and simple, allowing you to create and manipulate data with the easy drag and drop report and dashboard builder. We have taken the concept of self-service even further by integrating Zia, our AI assistant, right into the analytics tool, allowing you to use natural language to get insights without having to manually manipulate your data. Let me give you a quick preview of the power that Zia brings to your fingertips. When you launch Advanced Analytics for the first time, you will see the following Explorer view with a bunch of folders containing a lot of data. To get access to Zia, you need to click on the Ask Zia button on the left side navigation, and this brings up the AI assistant. Over here, you can use your voice or you can type out your question and see the kind of answers and reports that Zia throws back at you. So let's say we want to identify the technicians who face a high number of escalations, as this might be a factor affecting the overall customer satisfaction rate. So we'll ask Zia to show us the number of escalations by technician. As you can see, Zia automatically creates a bar chart of the technicians with the highest escalations. And from this, we can see that Roger has the highest number of escalations raised at 122, followed by Brad at 121, and so on. We can get more contextual with this data and ask Zia to show us this data grouped by the type of request that was raised. So in search bar, we just add by request type. As you can see, Zia has grouped the escalations by color based on the kind of request. That is, if the request was an incident or was a request for assistant or request for information. And this gives us much more insight into what are the kind of requests our technicians are having problems with. We can make this view even better by asking Zia to show it as a stacked bar chart. So there you go. You can view all the information in a single bar chart without actually manually typing out your query and getting the answer from Zia. You can further edit this report, save it for future use, or even add it to a dashboard. At times with IT data, one needs to drill down and conduct a root cause analysis to view the drivers behind the metrics or what is causing the divergences in data. So advanced analytics provides this functionality and enables users to set custom drill down paths to enable a complete root cause analysis. So data security and information security are cornerstone to any advanced analytics solution. You have the ability in advanced analytics to create user groups or share individual reports or data sets with specific users or groups within your organization. You also have option to export reports or data sets and enforce mandatory passwords are set to every exported piece of data. Congratulations, you have now completed the first level of this masterclass. So till now you have learned what it means to run your IT like a business. You've realized that the industry has a lot of rudimentary and rigid analytic tools for IT, and you also explored the different typical approaches that IT managers have and IT users have access to manipulate data and create analytics beyond what comes within the native application. You have also seen how to integrate advanced analytics for ServiceDesk Plus Cloud and get access to the out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. And you've also witnessed the power of Zia, our AI assistant, in which you can use your voice or text to create some incredible reports and get some automated insights. In level 2, we will try to master the dataset and tool to make ourselves familiar with the analytics environment and understand the data that we're dealing with at a deeper level. By the end of this level, you should be able to understand how to explore a dataset, how to create custom formulas, and finally craft highly customizable reports using the drag and drop report builder while making best use of the various features that the analytics tool has to offer. The most essential part of data manipulation and data analysis is obviously understanding the data set that you have at hand. The help desk collects a lot of data, and advanced analytics tool gives you the ability to browse through this data set very easily and intuitively. But you get over 45 out of the box data sets that a user has access to. And a new user might be overwhelmed by the amount of data that he or she has to go through. That's where the suggested data sets come into play. The most important data sets are shown to you on the screen, and you should take a note of these for future reference. The most important one over here is definitely the request data set, as all activities in a help desk begin with a raising of a new request, and naturally that data set would be the most important. So take your time to manually go through the various columns in the data set. I assure you that the more understanding you have of your data and data relationships, the better insights and ideas you can derive from your data. I'll now briefly explore the request dataset with you while giving you a brief tour of the analytics environment. So when you open Advanced Analytics for the first time, you land in the Explorer view, which will look something similar to this. All the raw data that is fed from Service Desk Plus Cloud is stored in this folder called Service Desk Plus Data. And you can also use the data navigation on the left-hand side to search for a specific table or a data set. So let's search for the request data set and navigate to it. So most of the columns over here are derived from the request form that you have set up within your Service Desk Plus Cloud instance. And most of the column names over here are indicative of what variables the column contains. So the request ID contains the unique ID for assigned to each different ticket or request raised within your help desk. And the subject is either manually typed or chosen from a drop down depending on how you have set up your help desk. So take your time manually going through this data set and understanding what are the various variables available to your data. So example, when we look at the site column, we can see that there are multiple sites given over here ranging from Tokyo, London, all the way to Sydney. This means that the help desk probably caters to customers spread across multiple sites. And you might want to create a site-based filter when you create reports in case people want to view site-specific data. Another interesting data column over here is the mode column. The mode column shows us the mode or channel through which the ticket was raised. So here we have variables such as tickets raised via a web form, via a phone call, or via an email. So let's try to understand if the time to respond to a ticket is affected by the mode or channel in which the ticket was raised. So let's say we take phone call as an example, and we try to find out if the time taken to respond to a ticket raised via a phone call is higher or lower than that of web form or email. To do this manually, it takes a lot of effort. And let me show you on how you can do this very quickly using the advanced analytics tool. To create a chart or visualization, click on the create icon on the top left corner. Over here, you have options to create multiple kinds of visualizations, such as dashboards, charts, pivot views, etc. For our use case, we will be using the chart view. Select the right table over here. Since the mode column is in the request table, we will be choosing the request table over here. So this is the drag and drop report builder. So all the columns that you saw in the request table should be visible to you on the left-hand side over here. And the right-hand side is the actual report builder. The report builder uses a single variable in the x-axis and multiple variables in the y-axis. And you can customize and create more context using secondary filters such as color, text, and size, as well as adding report and user level filters. So what we want to understand is how the response time is affected by the mode of ticket creation. So let's use the search on top over here to search for the mode variable and drag it into the X column. And since we want to find the response time, let's search for response and see what turns up. Over here, we can see there's a variable called time to respond in hours. When you start going through your data, you come across multiple data points that you can use across your reports to gain some valuable insights. So, time to respond is one such metric that could be helpful to us over here. Let's drag this into the y-axis. And by default, average gets chosen, and that's what we want. We want to find out the average time to respond depending on what is the mode of ticket creation. So to generate the graph, you have to click the green button, and you should automatically see the graph generated over here. Now, we cannot clearly decipher what is the major difference, though we can see there's a small difference between phone call, email, and web form. Now, to get the data, you can obviously hover on top of it to see the average response time showing 11.21 hours compared to email showing 10.77. But I think manually hovering on each bar chart is impractical. So let's add a data label on top of each of these charts. To add a data label, click on the gear icon on the top right, navigate to the axis option, and select data label under the y-axis. You should now see a data label applied on top of each bar chart, making it easier for us to see the difference between each of these modes. Now let's create more context to this data and view how the response time by mode has changed quarter over quarter. Is the response time for a phone call better this quarter than it was in the previous quarter, or vice versa? To do that, we can get the created time field into the x-axis. And over here, month and year is automatically chosen. But since we want to get quarter over quarter data, we'll choose quarter and year. And we would move the mode variable into the color column. and hit apply and see what we get. Now the tool has automatically chosen a line chart for us, but let's change the chart type by choosing a different one from the top and changing it to a bar chart. So there you have it. You can see that the mode of ticket creation is color coded over here, and you can see the changes quarter over quarter. So as you can see in Q1 2020, the time to respond to a ticket raised via a phone call is 13.08 hours, whereas it has reduced to less than 12 hours in the next quarter, showing a drastic improvement. Now we can take this visualization even one step further. Let's say I want to know what is the global average time to respond across the entire data set. So I want to find out what is the average response time across my entire data that is visualized here. I can create something called a threshold line. So you can again navigate to the gear icon on the top right, go click on threshold from the options. And over here, you will see that you can set threshold lines for either the entire table or on a per cell basis. We'll first create a global average response time by clicking on the entire table option and choosing the average value. We'll give it a name of global average response time and choose a dotted line format, giving it a color of probably, let's say, yellow, and click apply and see what comes. So we can see that 10.85 hours is the global average response time across an entire data set. Let's again navigate back to the gear icon and click threshold again. This time we'll create a new threshold by cell per cell and choose the average option. And this time we'll give it a quarterly average response time name and give it a solid line of, let's say, purple color and hit apply. So what we can see over here is each of the quarters has an average response time shown in purple. So let's say in Q1 2020, the average response time for the quarter was 11.12, whereas the global average response is 10.85. And we can clearly see in a single view that the quarterly average time for Q1 2020 is marginally higher than the global average. And the mode that is pushing it up is the response time for phone calls. So possibly the manager has already seen this report and has taken corrective action to ensure that the time to respond to tickets raised via phone call is corrected, and you can see that improvement in the next quarter. Now let's save this table for future references. Let's call it quarter on quarter response time by mode and save it. So we can choose a folder over here, either an existing folder or you could create a new folder. I'm going to choose an existing folder and save it. Now to get out of the editor mode, we'll click on the view mode on the top right. This is the screen that you would see if you publish the report or share this with others. Now what we can do is we can also generate an alert in case a certain metric is breached so that we don't have to keep viewing this report. So to create an alert, let's say we want to be alerted if the time to respond breaches the 12-hour mark, right? So we can click on the alert icon on the top right, choose create alert, and give the alert a name. So we can call it response time threshold reached. And we're going to say is greater than 12. Let's say the average time to respond in hours is greater than 12 hours. And we want to check this on a weekly basis on every Monday at 9 a.m. We can choose how we want to be notified. We can be notified via email, via Slack, various via multiple integrations. We'll just choose in-app notification, choose that the administrators are the ones to be informed, and give it a message and click save. Now, the analytics tool will check weekly to see if the average response time has breached the 12-hour mark, and if it has, it will notify the admins of the workspace. Finally, you can also export this data in multiple formats. So you can export it as a CSV, as an Excel, as a PDF. So let's export it. Let's choose the PDF option. And here you can choose if you would like to set a password to the PDF and various advanced settings specific to your export option. Finally, you can click the export icon at the bottom to export the file. It's time for a quick poll. Please participate in the poll that should show up on your screen shortly, and help me understand how often do you or your team typically create reports? Do you create them every few days on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis? The poll should be visible to you now. In case you're not able to see the poll, just type out the answer in the Q&A panel. Now we know that decision makers and managers require a level of continuous visibility over various aspects of their business units, and this involves the creation of reports on a periodic basis. So, this usually is a very manual process and involves someone repeating the same process month over month or even weekly in some cases. So let's jump back into the application, and I'm going to create a shareable dashboard that you can give your service desk managers and give you some interesting ways in which you can share your reports so that people can have a real-time view into the IT or help desk health. We are now going to see how to use various reports and metrics to get instant visibility over your help desk. You will also see how to create an incredible dashboard that you can project in your IT room. Advanced Analytics comes with a bunch of out-of-the-box dashboards that can be viewed by clicking on the dashboards icon on the left-hand side navigation. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to be using the Service Desk Manager dashboard. The dashboard comes with a bunch of different standardized KPIs and reports that are used across the industry. But feel free to change it as per your needs by clicking on the Edit Design CTA on the top right. For my purpose, I'm going to replace the ticket inflow by hour of the day report with a ticket velocity report. You can search for the specific report by using the search bar and dragging it onto the dashboard. I'm just going to resize it a bit so that it fits perfectly. And additionally, I'm going to add a user filter over here of site because I want to be able to filter based in which site the request was raised. I'm going to save this dashboard and click on the view. Now that my dashboard is ready, I need to make it ready to project it in my IT room. Advanced Analytics comes with an incredible slideshow feature that enables you to do just that. Click on Share and click on Slideshow to create a slideshow. So give the slideshow a name. So I'm just going to call it the IT room dashboard. IT room dashboard. I'm going to search for the service desk manager dashboard. I'm also going to add a few other reports. So I'm going to add a trend-based report. I'm going to do an incoming trend by day of the week report and click save. Now you can set the slide intervals so that the slides automatically keep rotate looping without any manual intervention. And now you can copy this link and use it to project the slideshow on your IT display. Advanced Analytics comes with a powerful formula engine that plays a major role in extracting the insights that you require from your dataset. Let's go through how you can create your own formulas or how you can view and manipulate existing formulas. In the previous dashboard, you might remember that we added a request velocity report to our dashboard. So request velocity is a calculated formula that we use to determine the average number of incoming requests per day. To verify if a metric used in a report is a calculated formula, click on Edit Design. And as you can see on the left-hand side, you have a lot of columns available here. To filter out only the columns that are used in the report over here, you can click on the three dots, the more actions, and click the show in word column option. See, the request velocity is a calculated metric under the request data table. So let's go to the request data table and view the formula. To view the aggregate formulas created in a dataset, click on the Add button and then Edit Formulas. You can use the search bar to search for a specific formula. And let's search for our velocity formula and click Edit. Over here, we can see that the velocity formula is calculated by dividing the number of requests received divided by the number of unique days. So let's copy this formula and edit it to create a new formula. To create a new formula, let's click on Add Aggregate Formula and paste it over here. So now using the same formula, I would want to find out what is the average number of tickets that are received in a week instead of a day. If you look on the right hand side, you have various functions. Right now, the drop down has aggregate functions chosen. Let's change the function to date as we are dating, as we want to change the time period from a day to a week. Here you will see the definition of all the functions available within the advanced analytics tool. As you can see, we have the week option available here. On hovering on it, you can get insights into how to format the formula. We're going to replace the date with the week, and we're going to name the formula as request velocity week and save it. Let's go back to the same report that we previously had and replace the daily request velocity with that of the weekly request velocity that we have just created. Let's drag that into the y-axis and click generate. And there you go. As you can see, we have now created our own formula, and now the report shows us the average number of incoming requests per week in a month instead of on a daily basis. With this, you've successfully completed level 2. You've learned how to browse a dataset and create custom reports and dashboards with advanced analytics. You've learned the trick to view and manipulate custom formulas within the powerful formula engine and share and export reports in whichever format you require. You're truly well on your way to master advanced analytics for ServiceDesk Plus. Just remember, time and practice will help make you better. Spend time browsing through the datasets, manipulate and create reports based on your own data. And the only way to truly understand and master analytics is by getting your hands dirty in it. In the final level, we're going to combine all that we have learned till now and use analytics to solve some major problems or get answer to some pressing questions. But before we jump into the problems and sample cases, I want to take you through an example that will show you the deep insights that can be achieved with just a single metric in your dataset. To show you that, I'll distribute a single metric over different time periods using different visualization styles. Let me show you how. So the metric that I'm going to focus on is the average response time. So I can ask Zia to show me the average response time. Zia gives us a single metric stating that the average response time is 10.87 hours. So a manager could look at this metric on a weekly or monthly report to see if the time increases or decreases based on changes that he or she makes to the help desk processes. But there is not much depth or context to this single metric. So this is what I call an in the moment metric, as it's relevant only at the moment and does not look at the metric over a period of time. So let's look at this another way. In this report, we can see the same metric distributed by range and visualized by the number of tickets responded to in each of those ranges. In this report, the x-axis shows a range of response times. So they're divided into ranges of 4 hours each. And the y-axis shows us the count of the number of tickets received in those specific ranges. So this is a report you would see when a help desk manager wants to understand how the current request response times are distributed. You can almost instantly present this data to create more context, allowing the manager to make some actionable changes to their help desk processes. But again, this data is more aggregate in nature. You can also change the count of the number of tickets to percentage to get to make it even more contextual. So over here, request ID shows us the count. We can just change that to percentage of the total. So on applying that, we can see that almost 30% of the tickets fall in the 8 to 12-hour range, whereas the one immediately preceding that is at 15.5% at the 12 to 16 range. So a manager can make a decision to try to reduce the number of tickets in the 12 to 16 and the 16 to 20 range in order to increase the overall average response time. So this is what I call a breakdown visualization. This report is a bit more advanced than just looking at a metric, but let's just make things a little bit more advanced. So this is a more contextual way of viewing the same response time data. This is a beautiful heat map of the same response time metric taken a notch ahead. So the x-axis shows the month of the year, and the y-axis shows us the day of the week. The numbers in each square show the average response time on that working day in that month. So this is what I call a complete investigative visualization. So what can we derive from this report? We can see a few things almost immediately. April is the month with the highest response times, and Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays in March, April, and May see an increased response time. Right? We also see an outlier on Thursdays in August with a highly increased response time. Some action that I can immediately take is to increase the number of technicians available in August to accommodate for the high response time. As on hovering on those highlighted boxes, I can see that there is a high ticket inflow across April compared to the previous months. This report might already seem a bit overwhelming to some people, but we can make this report even more contextual. If we go to edit design, we can actually change the sizes of each of the squares to indicate the number of technicians available during those time periods. If we get the technician count, if we get the unique technician count into the size and click generate graph, you see that the size of the boxes are directly correlated with the number of technicians available on those days. So you might have noticed that uh, Thursdays in August, the one with the highest response time, is an outlier. The reason for that is it is the smallest box in all of August, and also the smallest box in all Thursdays across the year. What this goes to show is that there were less number of technicians available during that time period, and therefore this helps a IT manager plan ahead by making sure that he or she has enough technicians at hand. We have now seen how different visualization styles can be used differently to achieve various objectives. This is why it's important to be clear on what you're trying to achieve and choose the appropriate visualization style. And in case you're running a data investigation to see if any unique insights pop up, be sure to visualize the data from different viewpoints to discover unique insights. We'll now go over three real life scenarios and use cases and use the analytics tool to solve the problem or get answers to the question we have. Case 1 revolves around continuous service improvement or CSI. CSI aims to continuously improve the speed and effectiveness of your processes over time. In order to achieve continuous service improvement, you must compare specific indicative metrics over a period of time and make sure that you see an improvement. So how can analytics help you with that? Let's say we want to track areas where our technicians lack expertise or take longer to provide the adequate resolution. We can hypothesize that if a technician regularly takes longer to respond to a request in a particular category, he or she probably lacks expertise in that category and might require some additional training. This report gives me the average resolution time this quarter across various request categories. Looking at this report, we can see that the technicians take longer to solve issues relating to MPLS switches, uh, admin issues, general issues, and ISP link. This is an indicator that maybe your technicians require some sort of assistance or training as they might lack expertise in those specific areas. The additional training and guidance should result in a decreased resolution time, which shall be indicated on this report. Now that you know which areas your technicians lack expertise in, and you've provided the corrective action to hopefully resolve the issue, the most important step in CSI is to track the metric over time to monitor the improvements. To do that, I'm going to introduce the average resolution time from 3 months ago into the same report. You can use this report to monitor improvements. If the bar for this quarter is less than that from 3 months ago, it indicates an improvement, whereas if the bar for this quarter is more, it indicates a decline. So we can see that the average resolution time to address faulty hardware has dramatically reduced from 4.2 hours to less than half an hour, whereas we have seen an increase in the time taken to address MPLS links. So using this report, you can actually monitor these metrics from a bird's eye level and provide personalized feedback to your team. To go even more personalized, you can use the technician filter to choose a specific technician and uh, and see their performance across various categories and provide much more detailed and personalized feedback and training. You can apply the same method of CSI that we apply to the average resolution time to almost any other metric and monitor the metrics improvement over time. The second case involves solving issues around technician workload and capacity planning. As a help desk manager, I want to be able to see if my technicians are getting an equal amount of tickets assigned to them or not. This is to ensure that they aren't over or underworked. Secondly, I also want to be able to view insights that would help me plan my technician requirements through the year. Let's say I work in a cyclical industry such as education. I should be able to plan for the sudden surges in help desk volume and ensure I have sufficient technicians at hand to meet the demand. Let's take a look at two reports that can help us with this. The technician load distribution report shows me a visual representation of the monthly number of tickets assigned across my technicians. The goal of this report is to easily identify outliers. As you keep tinkering with your auto assignment rules and other workflows in your service desk, keep a regular eye on this report. The more closely packed the circles are to each other, the better. This is because when circles overlap each other, that's indicative that the technicians are handling a similar number of tickets. But in case there are gaps between circles or the circles are spread apart, That goes to show unequal distribution of workload. For example, Robert Whitman in April 2019 is clearly handling more tickets than the rest of the technicians. You can also see that Lynn Hendricks has got the least number of tickets for 2 months in a row. So these deviations that you see visually on this report act as indicators for further analysis. The numbers that you see in the boxes is actually a custom calculated formula which divides the number of incoming tickets by the number of available technicians. This report beautifully allows help desk managers to identify problem areas and cost saving opportunities. The squares which are blue indicate that there are more technicians available on those days than required, and you can reduce the number of technicians on those days to save costs. Days marked in purple and yellow indicate a high number of incoming tickets compared to the number of technicians, and the help desk manager might want to plan for more technicians to be made available on those days. The final case involves getting really advanced by using custom queries to discover automation opportunities. Generally, in our help desk, we create a lot of categories and subcategories so that we can view where all the tickets are landing up so that we can generalize and find out where the problem areas are. But many times, the most valuable data is hidden in the subject line or description of a ticket. And it's very impractical for a manager to manually analyze multiple subject lines and descriptions across hundreds of tickets. So, in this final report of this presentation, we look at how help desk managers can discover opportunities for automation or how he or she could discover topics for help desk documentation when analyzing unstructured text data that either originates from titles, descriptions, or other unstructured data spread across your help desk. To generate this report, we have written a query that fetches the subject line of various tickets generated in the help desk and extracted up to 21 words from each of the subject lines and placed each of those words in separate columns. What we have done next is created a second query which basically took the values from all those 21 columns and added them to a single column, allowing us to analyze the frequency of different words in the subject line. So this allows us to create a word bubble using the packed bubble visualization option in advanced analytics. The keyword cloud helps us visually identify keywords that have a high frequency and can be optimized or automated. For example, we see the SharePoint option visible here, and on clicking it and viewing the underlying data, we can see that there are repetitive requests to provide access to SharePoint. So this process of providing access to SharePoint can be automated either based on a manager approval cycle without requiring a technician to handle this request manually, or providing access to SharePoint can be integrated within the onboarding process itself, so that every new employee automatically gets access to the required SharePoint credentials. You can also use the same data to conduct a time series analysis for categories that don't exist in your request form. So, for example, this chart represents the frequency of the word network appearing in the subject line of request distributed over a period of time. So this shows us a clear picture that there were major network issues in April and minor peaks in June and November, giving us the overall performance of the network over the entire year. So just like with any other line of business that we saw earlier, there are a bunch of key performance indicators and metrics that are popular across the IT service management industry. You will find a lot of them within the out-of-the-box reports that come with advanced analytics. But going over each one of could span a few more sessions. Don't worry, we've got you covered. You can learn about the various ITSM metrics and also get educated on tips and tricks to improve your IT analytics right on your social feed. My team and I have been working hard to get you the best analytics insights in small bite-sized carousels on both LinkedIn and Instagram. So you'll get introduced to new IT analytics insights almost every other day as part of the Master IT Analytics campaign. So I'd urge you to follow either our ManageEngine LinkedIn page or the Master IT Analytics handle on Instagram to learn about various ITSM metrics that you can apply on your help desk data. With that, you have completed the final level of the masterclass. Congratulations. You're now able to create reports and dashboards, solve problems and issues with data, create some truly incredible metrics, and make decisions based on insights derived from your own historic help desk data. You're well on your way to mastering analytics and developing an analytical approach to service management. Do remember that to improve, you need to get your hands dirty with the data. So either download the free trial of advanced analytics if you don't have it already and spend time understanding and playing around with your data. I am sure you'll walk away with some incredible insight and also learn an essential skill to survive in today's data economy. I'd like to thank you for sticking to the end, and I hope you walk away today with some new ideas and thoughts. So you can go ahead and post your questions in the Q&A panel on the left, and I'll get to answering them in a minute. In case I'm unable to answer them right now, either I or someone from my team will send you an email answering your questions. You can always reach out to us on the email IDs mentioned on the screen.